Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. We're going to Germany. It's favorite and least favorite albums today. And Steven, show it off. We are going to be talking about Accept today. There you go. Get your balls to the wall, people. That's what it's all about. So, of course, let me welcome Steven Reid and Simon Bray. What's up, my friends?
Yeah, it's good. Looking forward to this one. This is good.
That's right. That's right. How is the weather in your neck of the woods these days?
It's
Shite.
okay. We've had
Yeah.
rain, hailstones, sun, wind, everything today. Lots and lots of everything. That's normal. So yeah, not great, not awful, not quite shite.
Our garden gate got blown off last night. By last night, obviously, I mean about 10 days ago. Just, just for whenever this goes out. But yeah, imagine my surprise to wake up this morning and find that we no longer have a gate and all the bins are on the lawn. Yeah.
Did you know when did the gate go a distance?
Oh, it's a very, very heavy gate. It didn't go far, but yeah, everything else did.
Far enough.
Great.
So it was heavy enough to take it down, but not take it anywhere.
British summertime. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not summertime. Calm down.
We're in the
God.
summer term. It's summertime.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know what you're talking about because we went from winter like a couple days ago, and it's 75 today. It's going to be almost 90 tomorrow, 90 on Friday, and then it's going to go back into like the 50s. So, yeah,
It's a bit like living in the UK at the moment, then.
I guess, right? Yes. Keep trying. No seasons here anymore. It does whatever it
absolutely.
wants to. Mother Nature does whatever the hell it wants to every single day. So,
Yep.
regardless of what the calendar says.
Warm and wet, cold and wet. That's what we get in Scotland.
There you go. There you go. So before we start talking about our favorite, least favorite Accept albums, we have a little bit of business to take care of first. So Simon, will you please lead us off with your beverage selection of the day?
I will indeed. No, 10 days, again, roughly 10 days ago, when I don't know if I mentioned that Burnley got promoted. Oh yeah, we then came back through what felt like the whole of Yorkshire, including two breweries, which is always a good idea, I find.
Sure.
Don't you think? One of the breweries I went to was the Black Sheep Brewery in Masham. And I thought, because it's so gloriously sunshiny at the moment, I'll get me a nice cider because it's really, really sunshiny. And it's absolutely fucking freezing right now. But anyway, I've got myself a Bobby Horn's Easy Apple Cider. Look at that. How cool is that? Really cool. But more importantly, what a super cool glass.
Ah, look at that.
Oh, that's cool as anything. Yeah, I like that.
So I'm going to pour that and I'm going to thoroughly enjoy because it's gloriously, gloriously hot here.
Yes. Okay, so I have not cidered it. It's a good idea though, actually. I am trawling back to the Loch Lomond Brewery, which was a discovery of mine that I made about 6 months ago. I mean, I didn't discover it. I think they knew they existed until then. But I am slowly but surely working my way through what they have. This is Brave Hop. That's what we've got. Okay, so a 6% IPA. And the last time that we were on, my can had no shite on the back, nothing. This is straight to the point. I quite like this. There's no story. There's no kind of mythical tale to tell you what this beer will taste like. It just goes Columbus and Chinook. There's your hops. Marmalade and pine aroma. So that is supposedly what it smells like. It smells lovely though. And then caramel and apricot flavors. Bittersweet finish. So there you are. In a glass, that is it. That's it. I've got my Spey Valley glass, which has got absolutely nothing to do with the beer that's inside it, to be fair. But there you go. It's a nice glass.
Cool. Well, I'm drinking a beer that probably is not perfect for this type of weather we're having here in New York today, but whatever. It was in the fridge, and I figured I'll crack one open. So I have a Talea Beer Company Chocolate Oat Stout. Brewed in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, so it's a city beer. Inspired by 4 and 20 Blackbird's Black Bottom Oat Pie. I haven't a clue what that is. Does that sound like something you guys are familiar with? No, I didn't think so. All right. Brewed with toasted oats, cocoa, and brown sugar. And it's 5.5%. 1 full pint. And I've got it in my fraternal order of Nearfest Beer Snobs glass and not sweet, a little chocolatey, a little coffee. Not crazy about that, but not bad. Not bad. I don't know if I
I
tasted.
did wonder if that would have a little bit of coffee when you said what it was. I did wonder. This is very nice and bittersweet, absolutely.
Do you find sometimes that the oatmeal stouts have a little bit of that coffee flavor?
Yeah, and when you kind of said it was dark and it was chocolatey, they sometimes seem to kind of lean into that kind of coffee flavor. And as we've discussed before, I dislike coffee intensely, but I can take it. Just that little hint of it in a beer like that, but not too much. Some porters are a step too far for me, where it's more coffee than it is anything else.
I'd rather have more chocolate. I mean, I don't. In some stouts, I don't mind a hint. I don't like coffee at all. I don't really like the flavor, but I don't mind a little hint in a stout. I would like a little less in this and more chocolate. It's a little too coffee flavor for me. I could see like this would be like having one and done, but whatever.
Fair enough.
Anyway, all right. So we've each picked out our 2 favorite Accept albums and our 2 least favorites, and a wild card. The wild card, for those of you who are maybe new to this show on this channel, the wild card could be any album that isn't an absolute favorite or a worst. It could be a live album. It could be a compilation. It could be an album that sits right in the middle of the catalog that you like. It's solid. You don't love it. You don't hate it, that sort of thing. So we kind of leave that open to interpretation by the 3 of us. And with all that being said, Mr. Simon, I turn the floor over to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to very loosely interpret the wild card at some point.
Gee, are you surprised, Steven?
Absolutely, completely.
Excellent. So, favorites. Let's lay the line down. Shall I like early accept. I really like later accept. I can kind of live without middle period accept. So here we go. Oh, I know. How controversial is that? I am going to go with my first choice, which is sometimes known as I'm a Rebel, but I'm going to go with just accept. Yeah, look at that. Look, you can see how long I've had that. Just look at the vinyl impinging through there. Can you see that? You can see it.
Oh, yes, ringwear.
Yeah, I can see that a lot of hand.
Can we see the cover again, please, Simon? Okay.
Yeah, it's the UK pressing on Passport Records. Don't think I own much else on Passport Records, to be honest.
No, probably not.
But, hey, there you go. I pretty much where I came in with Accept. I think obviously it's got a cool cover, but just look at those guys on the bike. Look at that. Does that not just make you want to pick up and say, this is going to be great? No. Okay. Oh, well, such as that. I mean, Wolf here looks very much like a matriarch on Coronation Street. Yeah. So I genuinely really like this record. I don't think the band do. I don't think Udo does, but I do, and that's what currently counts. I like all of it. I think I'm a Rebel is one of the biggest earworms you can ever hear, and I like when they do it live. Or when Udo does it live, it extends out to about 3 days. And I like that. But it's a metal album. It's Nuwobini. You can also see kind of like where they're going for it. It's concise. It's short, which is always good. But it's not crushingly heavy. It's got that kind of like late 70s, early 80s kind of. We're heavy, but we're not stupidly heavy. And there's like air in between all the instruments and stuff. Whereas these days everything's so big, isn't it? All the sounds are so big. But it's quite light and airy in places, and it's just got some great songs on it. Starting off with "I'm a Rebel," "Save Us," "No Time to Lose," "Thunder and Lightning's great. And I love songs that that kind of like interpret what the song's about. So when a little crash of thunder or lightning comes into a song called Thunder and Lightning, I'm there. I really am. Side two's equally great. And if I was to just in my head count up how long it is, it won't be much more than half an hour. So you've got another 23 and a half hours of your day to either play it again or go on to your next accent. But it's just really like it. I think it's the one that I've had the longest, and that sometimes makes you choose your favorite because of that. It's not what I'm going to do in forthcoming weeks, let me tell you. But you can see where they're going to go from here. And I would urge people, because not that many people appear to have bought it, to check it out. I really would. And again, just village people, just brilliant, fantastic. Yeah.
And just to clarify, in some parts of the world, that was like self-titled, as was the very first album, and in other parts of the world, it was "I'm a Rebel." That's what it was called here when they finally issued it here. Just so you know, because it's the early part of the catalog is a little confusing, as some.
Yeah. That's why I have to see the cover again, because more on that in a bit.
Excellent. Modern Day Accept don't play much from it. So, if you're feeling I like Accept, and I've got one of the 20 million live albums, but there's not, if you want some Accept that's not necessarily out there all the time, go back to this one. And also, go back. Oh, yes. I mean, when we're talking solid gold classics, I think we're talking balls to the wall. Yes, we are. I think I'm right on this one. What a great record. Comes, Stephen, look, it's got the hype sticker still on.
Wow.
Removable sticker, it says.
No!
I don't think so.
That's never coming off.
because it also tells me that it's got a free Accept poster. Hands up if you want to see. Oh, yeah. I'm surprised I didn't get that laminated. Just what the fuck? But yeah, this is wall to wall. What? Sorry, this is wall to wall classic heavy metal. I think we can all agree on that. Balls to the wall. It's a genre classic. London Leather Boys. Fight it back. There's going to come a point where Access are going to go. Access, they're good as well. They're German. Accept are going to like go a little bit more down the melodic rock kind of thing. And Fight It Back's one of those songs, that does that. Again, it's just so much great shit. And Winter Dreams. Kind of makes, that's the face, Stephen. That's the one. That's the Winter Dreams. Yeah, this is just so that's weird. And, quite why they've got a cricket ball on the back, I don't really know, but I'm just assuming that's what it is. But one of the interesting things about this album, obviously, is the lyrical content as well.
Oh yeah.
Now, to me, I think they've gone out on a limb and they're saying, let's be nice, let's be diverse, let's be, let's all live together in a hunky-dory kind of world. But boy, did it get some pushback at the time, didn't it?
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
As indeed did the cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best cover ever. Not fair.
We're not ranking covers, are we? We're ranking.
No, that's true. We're not. Yep.
It's part of the whole experience.
People are fickle, though, right? So
some people do want us to rank covers, don't they? And I feel like this may well have made an appearance on that show. If it ever happens, I'm sure it will.
Yes, that is a rank cover.
See what you did there. But it's just this is a statement album of we're metal and we're awesome, and for 4 or 5 albums they really were, in my opinion, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, those are my 2 favorites, possibly because they're the ones I've had the longest, but more of the later stuff shortly.
Okay. So to prove that, as always, Uncle Simon is correct, because that's the rule. Okay, there are exceptions, but that's the rule. Okay, I would say that the best Accept albums, and that's not what we're doing here. Okay, that's okay, and I'll say that if we're going to do best. Okay, so Restless and Wild. Okay, that's not what we're doing. So therefore, neither of those are my favourite, obviously, because why would the best ones be my favourite? That makes no sense. Okay, so my favourite really has always been Metal Heart from 1984, band's sixth album. To me, it's the classic lineup. You've got Udo on vocals, you've got Wolf, and you've got George Fisher on guitars, Peter Baltes on bass, Stefan Kaufmann on drums. That, to me, when I think Accept, that's what I think. The title track is just stunning. What a way to open an album. I mean, it's Udo's striking a perfect balance between kind of that vicious bark that people who don't like his vocals will tell you can't sing, and a proper singing voice. He hasn't quite moved beyond that at that point, because he does at some point, I think, to be fair. And just, I mean, the riff is killer. That guitar solo that adapts, is it Für Elise or something like that by Beethoven, is just phenomenal. And that big dramatic, I'm all about this sort of shtick. I really am. I absolutely love it. And I love the sound. The production, yeah, Dieter Dirks is he's an acquired taste. The production is dry, it's aggressive, but I still think these songs are accessible. I really like the clipped drum sound. I think the drum sound's really important to what's going on here. There's no flash, there's no bangs, there's no wallops. It is just really just tight and just pushing everything along. And there are those little bits like the short gap between the title track and Midnight Mover. I just love that little gap, and then Midnight Mover starts. I absolutely love those little moments, and that's thought about. That's not happened by accident. Do you know, it's just another great song. The guitar motif is fantastic. It's near enough perfection until you watch the video, which is just an epileptic fit in action. I mean, it really is. I mean, I know it's kind of pre-Matrix, Matrix, and all that kind of stuff. Wow. I mean, it's a tough watch under any circumstance. It's an excellent idea that is kind of pushed to the nth degree as the whole video just goes.
Needless to say, except we're not darlings of MTV for a reason.
Wow. Absolutely not. But I mean, side one, oh wow, it's just outstanding. And it's difficult to say these song titles because you have to go up to the limit. You have to accent, you can't help yourself but kind of live them out. Wrong is right. It's just screaming. You can't help yourself. Everything is so catchy, so memorable. I mean, side two isn't quite as consistent, but Too High to Get It Right is fantastic. Living for Tonight, absolutely bang on. And the kind of lesser tracks, Dogs on Leads, Teach Us to Survive, they bring something different to the album. And I quite like that. It's not just a continuous one-trick pony, which at certain points this catalogue can be, even when it's good. And I quite like the cheesy album cover. It is a bit cheesy, it's a bit literal, it's a bit obvious. I quite like it. I think it's one of the better ones. There's not a huge amount of competition, to be quite honest, but there you go, one of the better ones. My second choice, and one of the reasons that I asked Uncle Simon to hold up the album cover again for I'm a Rebel, is this, which is not I'm a Rebel. Okay, this is Metal Massacre. Okay, so this is, well, it's kind of I'm a Rebel because this is a double album. So it's got I'm a Rebel, okay, and it's got Breaker on it. But the rear cover would appear to be one of the covers for Restless and Wild.
Yeah.
But not On Fire. It's the kind of pre-On Fire Restless and Wild. But my version of Restless and Wild looks like that. The whole catalogue is filled with these. Every album up to a certain point in the catalogue, the first three, maybe not the debut, although there are different versions of that cover on picture discs and things like that. The first three or four seem to have different versions, different covers, different releases. I'm impressed with Simon's original I'm a Rebel because I'm a Rebel and Breaker are ridiculously difficult to get over here still. They're quite rare, especially on CD. They are expensive. So this is an old, I presume on the back of Balls to the Wall, this is a version that they released with I'm a Rebel and Breaker. on it.
I couldn't find I'm a Rebel on streaming.
They're just difficult albums to find. It is very nice, I have to say.
Oh yeah.
It's Double Yellow on Razor Records. Who? What? And this is the sort of stuff that seemed to go on in their catalogue at this point. But the point being that my other favourite album is 1981's Breaker. So it's the third album by the band. And to me, it sounds like a band who've got it. They understand now what they are, what they're going to be. They've taken what they've done on the first couple of albums, one of which we'll come to later in my list as well, and decided where they're going to go. It's not quite the blueprint that they follow. I kind of view what happens after Restless and Wild up to when the lineup with Udo splits. Okay, they're a metal band. I think that we're a hybrid heavy rock metal band at this stage. I'm a Rebel. There's a bit of punk involved in all this kind of stuff as well. And they're doing different things. And then from kind of Restless and Wild onwards, there's a different trajectory. But Breaker seems to kind of set that tone. So it's the same lineup as did Metal Heart, but you had a change in between because George Fisher left for the two albums in between. Herman Frank came in. And there is really quite a distinct difference between that era and then what would come afterwards. But, I mean, anyway, you look at it, Starlight, Breaker, Run If You Can, wow. I mean, that's an energy-packed opening to an album, and it's just outstandingly good. I mean, I could live without Can't Stand the Night. That's a slower track before Accept worked out how to do, well, slower tracks, really, because it's just, I don't really like it very much, but that Up and Atom approach of Burning, that is just the epitome of, it's simple, but it's effective. The chorus is just in your face all the time. It's really aggressive. But then if you were to slow it down and take Udo's bark off it and you listen to it, I mean, Status Quo could 12-bar boogie the life out of that song. It's a really interesting way that they've really meted it up. And it's not really, when you go and listen to it, you kind of go, yeah, it's just a boogie song, played with tons of aggression. And that's what makes it interesting. So, you know, there's a kind of slight naivety across this album, but I really like where it lands. And even the impact of the songs that are kind of long forgotten, like Feelings and Down and Out, it's really strong. I would agree that there's probably better to come from the band and what they moved into. But I've got a real affection for Breaker. So that's my second favourite album.
Breaker's a great album. I would agree with you. That's kind of where they really figured it out. This is who we want to be, even though it's not 100% there yet. It's pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. So, Steven, you were talking before about how, you know, there are their best albums and then there are our favorite albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my case, they're one and the same. I've told the story a million times here on the channel of the first time I ever heard Restless and Wild. I'll tell it again for those who haven't heard it. I was sitting there, and God, this was 1980. It came out in 1983 here, so it was early 1980. One of my buddies in school said to me, he goes, "Holy shit! I picked up an album over the weekend in the import section that you have to hear. What are you doing after school today?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I guess I'm going to your house." So went to his house after school. We go down to his room. He doesn't show me the album. He puts it on his turntable, and all I hear is this popping and clicking and hi dee hi ho I hum, and then that scream, and I was like, what is this? Fell in love right there. And it's been my favorite Accept album ever since. I love the production. I love the songs. It has drop dead classics on me. Fast as a Shark is one of the great album openers of all time. I love the title track. Princess of the Dawn is killer. Neon Nights, Ahead of the Pack, Demons Night. I mean, to me, it's just top to bottom. Absolutely great. Ooh, I mean, at the time, this was like the most ferocious, extreme thing I'd ever heard in my life, other than maybe like Motorhead, right? I hadn't started listening to Venom yet, or anything like that. It was a little bit off still. So yeah, I mean, this to me will always be my favorite Accept album. It's just absolutely incredible. And number two, which just edges out your number one, Steven, because I think Metal Heart is fucking terrific, really, really good. And I think as time goes on, I'm appreciating it even more, even though I loved it when it came out. But I got to go balls to the wall here. The album that should have made them huge in North America. And, you know, I've long debated why Accept were never as big as like Maiden or Priest. And, you know, quite frankly, what it comes down to, Udo's voice is not for the common man, right? I mean, that's just what it is. You know, there are serious metal fans who Udo's voice is perfectly acceptable, and then there are metal fans who want to hear the stuff that'll get played on the radio, and they're like, "Oh, I can't deal with that garbled vocals of his." He's not for everybody, right? That's the reason why Accept were never huge here. They were just big enough, and then I mean, we all thought after the success of this that their career would have taken off, and it never did here. Always a really popular cult band, never a huge band. Kind of sucks that was the case. But I mean, this is a classic. I mean, Simon's already mentioned all the great songs on here. I love the production on here. It's got great guitar tone. Udo sounds terrific on here. I find this album a little bit more interesting personally, but I still think this is pretty damn terrific. Horrible album cover notwithstanding, I think that also had something to do with the whole thing. That terrible album covers. I mean, just the better ones are the ones they put out recently, but nobody cares about album covers anymore. But back when it mattered, this was never going to sell 2 million copies. This never going to happen. And quite frankly, Steven, I like your cover better for Restless and Wild because that's the one that I had growing up. I mean, I love that live shot of the band. I mean, I saw that and I was like, oh,
it's this shot here right in the middle. That's just phenomenal, isn't it? But yeah,
I mean, this is fine for what it is, but I prefer that.
The only issue is it does give the vibe that it's a live album, and a lot of people won't start with live.
Yeah,
so it does give, but even the back is.
Oh yeah, it just screams. It screams metal, right? It just
doesn't it?
Screams metal.
I mean, that's the sort of thing you can imagine Venom doing. This, fire and everything, the silhouettes.
Yep,
it is that kind of dangerous kind of look, and it had a great logo as well. So
for sure.
Looks a bit like the inside of Iron Fist, where they're on the hill without the flames. It's not got that kind of
it's got that kind of pose. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, now the stinkers, I guess, or least favorites.
Yes. It's a bit of an open goal in many ways. I don't want to say too much about my least favorite because I'm going to say lots of other stuff about other things. Because I think we've got Eat the Heat in our sights for some other reason, haven't we, Stephen?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I think that it will probably appear in a different guise in a different show that we'll do at some point. I'm still going to touch on it.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on it because it's my least favorite by some distance. There's a guy with a voice that David Reid that you think, well, that's quite mainstream friendly. That's certainly more mainstream friendly than your Uncle Udo. Oh dearie me. For a start, they do the Let's Write As If We're Prince, XTC, fuck off. Generation Clash, no. Stand for what are. God, these people must have been knocking on at that point. It just doesn't really sound like Accept. Without somebody with a Brian Johnson kind of voice, Accept doesn't sound like Accept to me. And it's just no. It's just no.
You should change your name to Excess at that point, right, Simon?
There you go. I see what you did there. But I mean, we will come back to this album, won't we? Some of the albums surrounding it before it were, relatively mediocre, but not offensively just massive herd wank, like I think Eat to the Heat could well be described as. Can I go on to my next bit? Okay.
Before you do, Simon, I do want to say real quick. So David Reid actually went on to form a band fairly recently, like in the last 5, 6, 7 years, called Sainted Sinners, who are actually really, really good. And he sounds great on those albums. They're more of like kind of kicked up like Deep Purple type of thing. And he sounds perfect in that vehicle, not on Eat the Heat.
David Reid is one of these guys that when you go and look his name up, he's on 40 gazillion albums.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sang on more albums than have ever been recorded. It's ridiculous. However, what I will say is that along the way, there are things like Bangalore Choir. Even some of this stuff that's just come out under Reese are really, really good. And that guy can sing, but he'll always be remembered as the vocalist on Eat the Heat.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep.
Indeed. Accept, I think, now that they've been around for 40 odd gazillion years, they've become a heritage act. And they thought, all the things that happen to our heritage acts have happened to Accept. There's a lot of compilation albums.
Mm-hmm.
And there are an absolute fuck ton of live albums. Not just from Accept, but from Udo, or Dirk Schneider, as he likes to be when he goes out. As he's got thousands. He really does. And then
he puts out one every year, man. He puts out one every year.
Well, he hasn't made one for about 15 seconds, has he? So
late. He's gonna get cooking. Come on.
And then Dick brains like me go out and buy them, don't they? Yeah, live in Bulgaria, because they were just coming out of the pandemic and everybody was spaced out. You can't tell on any of these pieces of vinyl that that's the case. No, but it's really good. I really like it, but really, I think I'm talking about. I don't want to say fleecing, because the actual products are really good. Symphonic Terror, what a great record. Excellent, really, really good. Why does nobody get along with Wolf? What is it about? I don't know. What is it? It's a really good product. It really is. It's really good, great songs, well played. It's got the orchestral section in the middle. But 12 seconds before they put that out, they put this out. Accept Blind Rage live in Europe, 2015. Look.
Hold that up again. Hold that up again.
I'm only holding part of it up because it's quite a heavy box.
But mine's not Blind Rage.
Mine is. Yeah. Comes with a poster where they don't look.
Confusing catalog. There you go.
It really is, isn't it? Who wants a poster with lots of middle-aged men on? Clearly, mine never comes out. But the actual album itself is great. It's really, really good. I was listening to it today. It's just a really kick-ass record of songs that they played around about the time of the new stuff and the classics, and then promptly never play the newer stuff again, because that's what heritage acts do, isn't it? It's kind of like going to Scared or something like that, isn't it? So heritage acts, I just thought I'd toss that out there. But I'd also like a special word for Wolf's solo material. Yeah, Headbangers Symphony. Yeah, I listened to that a couple of times.
It's nice. Is it nice?
It's nice.
Nice. Nice. Really nice.
No, it's really nice for what it is. But I bought it because it was $12.95 on vinyl. I thought, back of the net, give it up for me and my completist nature. But yeah, Eat to the Heat is the only one that I think, oh God, I've probably got to listen to that one again soon. Thanks, Stephen. But all the rest of the catalogue, I'm a huge fan of.
People are wondering what the hell are these guys talking about. You'll find out.
Regular viewers will understand where it's headed.
They will.
Put it that way. They will understand where it's headed. Yeah. Okay. So we've established that you like all of it, Simon. Is that what we're saying? Because you seem to have covered lots of things that are really good that you really like and your least favourite bit there.
Yeah, but my point being that, in 2023 or probably for the last decade, bands have had to put out shitloads of product to, either hang a tour off it or to get some kind of shekels in, because, the music industry is, and I think the technical term is, fucked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because it used to be, did it not? When a band put a live album out, we go, oh God, it's so exciting. But bands put albums out after every tour, sometimes every show and every tour, you know what I mean? And just does it devalue the live album? I feel like it. Thank you, Stephen. You've answered my question.
Yes. It goes a long way to explain why, and I know that Pete especially has a lot of love for the live album. I no longer do, because they're tainted by that sort of just relentless nature by which your favourite bands say, but there's a different song on this one.
Well, let me clarify that again. I loved live albums back in the day. I don't really care too much about them anymore. They're not special anymore. That's the problem. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, Simon's example, Udo, I love him, puts out a live album every fucking year. It's got to, that's why even listen to them anymore, right? And then he tours. You go see him live. Hey, you got a live album. It's exactly the same as a tour. Back in the old days, a live album was special. If maybe you got one live album during the course of a career of a band, right? Or a live album every 6 or half a dozen years or whatever. Now it's like, you can put out a live album whenever. Either bands don't put out live albums, or they put them out way too often. They're not special anymore. So yeah, I'm like, oh, such and such coming. I don't need to hear that. Back in the old days, it's like, oh, the live album, got to get that. Now I don't care anymore.
Fair enough. That is pretty much spot on. So least favourite, seeing as some of us might actually do the least favourite Accept albums today. Okay, I'm going to go for the album called Accept. Okay, yeah, this is confusing people. I understand that if you're new to this catalogue, how many albums can they have that are called Accept? Well, clearly more than one. And some of them
it's the debut album, everybody, whatever it's called.
So this is the 1979 debut album called Accept. Okay, and this was initially only put out in Germany, which is why they clearly felt that they could then go and do something different and call things Accept and kind of second debuts and and I can understand why. I mean, I don't think this was released over here until something like 1984, 85 and around there, because they were obviously trying to capture that kind of success that seemed to be coming through with balls to the wall. But this isn't very good. Well, I don't like it very much at all. It's totally unfocused. It's a band that really have lots to say and no idea how to say it. It's all over the place. It's aggressive in spots. They clearly like a bit of the Scorpions. I mean, it's even got a bad Scorpions album cover, doesn't it? You could imagine that being in the Scorpions catalogue rather than the Accept one, even though there are some really bad covers in this catalogue too. And it's got a cool back, kind of. It's a bit generic. It doesn't. It's just not very good, really. Sea Winds. I mean, I quite like Sea Winds, but it is so Scorpions. It's kind of unbelievable.
Something though, for me, the reason that album is saved from not being at the bottom of the barrel by a lot is because those couple of songs that kind of sound Scorpions-ish have this cool kind of early Teutonic metal thing that I don't really mind too much. The rest of the album is just absolutely awful when they're not doing that. So yeah, that's all I like about it.
Yeah, and when those songs are good, things like Sounds of War, I mean, the guitar work on that is outstanding.
Yeah,
it is really, really good. There are the odd little aspects that can make you understand why somebody didn't just say next at that point. There's clearly talent going on. I'm not necessarily convinced there's much in the way of songwriting going on, because the highlights tend to be within songs. They tend to be a guitar solo. They tend to be the odd kind of midsection break where you think, oh, that's a cool, oh, it's gone. And as an album, it really doesn't hold together. The ideas are just all over the place. And Udo has no idea who he is yet. He's trying to sing at this stage. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day, bands were given time to develop, weren't they?
Yes,
they were.
In the here and now, if your single doesn't make it on TikTok, you're doomed, aren't you? I assume they don't do singles on TikTok, but you know what I'm saying, don't you? What's TikTok? I don't know.
Just TikTok.
I'll Snapchat you about it later, shall I?
Thank you very much. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah. They were given time, because clearly there's stuff on the early albums that you think, what? And then you think, holy shit, those guitars are good.
Yeah.
Maybe, somebody thought, well, let them put that one out. Thin Lizzy made about 38 albums before they really struck gold, didn't they? And that wasn't uncommon for bands to have lots of albums before. REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
True. Very true. And I will add that there are people out there that love the debut Accept album because they prefer that sound to what the band became. So if that's your bag, then I respect that. I don't necessarily agree with you, but there are some high points on it, and that does show what Simon was mentioning earlier. This is a really strong catalogue, and choosing really bad albums is really difficult because there's not many really bad albums. I don't like the debut. I don't have much love for what happened after they reformed. So yes, Eat the Heat came out, it all fell apart, they all split. And then they got back together with Udo again. There are 3 albums that kind of fit into that era. Objection Overruled is quite good. Death Row has its moments. I don't like Predator very much. Okay, I mean, it's a really, can't see this light particularly, it's a really nondescript album cover. It's not quite as objectionable as some of them. It's just bland and boring. And that kind of sums this up, I think. This is from 1996. It's a band's 11th album. They're almost falling apart at this stage. If Udo doesn't write on the song, Udo ain't singing the song. You know, Peter Baltes is singing the song, and then they put 2 of those together on the album, which kind of changes the midsection. You kind of go, who am I listening to? And then we kick back in with another. Oh, there's Udo. It's Accept again. That's what we're doing. It's got Michael Cartellone on drums, who we know from Damn Yankees and Leonard Skinner in later years. And it's just a bit, it's going through the motions, is what it is. It's not bad, but it's going through the motions, and it is a bit kind of 90s-fied. You can kind of hear a little bit of them kind of going, oh, there's the sound of now. And they're never going to get there. It's never going to happen. That is not what this band were ever about. However, the reason that this has to be in these 2 is because it commits the cardinal sin, okay? Because, and there are many rock and metal acts out there that have done it, but it has a crap bit of rap on it. There is absolutely no need for the song Primitive. I mean, they put it last on the album because they're embarrassed by it. Clearly somebody has gone, I've got a great idea. This will make you so relevant. Primitive. Wow, it's just turgid. It is so embarrassing to hear a proper act clearly being shoved into a little box. Go and do this, because this is what everybody has to do at some point. It's utter shit. The rest of the album, it's okay. There isn't really a standout song on it. For me, it's not an album I would ever really pull out the racks on a regular basis, but that one song, boom, it's garbaggio. It's so bad, it's terrible. So yeah, Predator is my second choice.
I would sum up the Accept 90s albums as meh.
Yeah.
There's moments on them. Overall, they're pretty mediocre. Right. All right. My least favorite, and it's not even close, is Eat the Heat. Without saying too much, I think the album is a little too melodic for me. Yeah, it sucks. Anyway, next. Now we got people really confused now. Although some of them hopefully know what the hell we're getting at. All right, so next up for me, my other least favorite album. I'm actually shocked that Simon had it as his favorite, but I'm going to go with I'm a Rebel. I don't like this album at all. To me, you know, it's funny. We talked about how the first album, they're trying too hard to sound like Scorpions. Here, they're trying too hard to sound like AC/DC. I don't know. I don't like the core. You know, granted, there are a couple pretty good songs in here. Save Us isn't bad. Thunder and Lightning is pretty heavy. China Lady has its moments. The rest of it is just all over the place. It's either trying to be like lame late 70s AC/DC with really cheesy choruses, or it's too punky, or it's not heavy enough. I don't know. To me, it just sounds all over the place. It's just too derivative of a lot of different things. And I think the picture looks kind of hilarious. They trying to be Mott the Hoople, or I don't know what's going on here. This is very, very strange. I don't know. I think it's really weird. The first album and then this, I'm totally confused. And then they come out with Breaker. It's like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it. But the first 2 albums to me are just, they're all over the place. And neither one of them really work for me all that much. But again, young band, going through the motions. I get it. But to me, this is pretty damn forgettable. So I own it. The only time I've ever listened to this in the last like 5-10 years is when I've had to review the catalog with Martin Popoff, and today. Or not today, but leading up to today's episode here. So yeah, I'm a Rebel. Don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it.
The title track, Peter, is a classic. Come on. No,
Classical what?
oh, I think it's a great song.
Yeah, I don't. It annoys me. I find the
album.
chorus ridiculous. I just don't like it at all.
Oh, really? Okay. I love the chorus. Fair enough.
Wildcard time.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay.
Simon's favorite part of the episode.
Yay! I like New Accept. I really, really like New Accept. I like all the albums since 2010. However, I'm going to go for a couple of the more recent ones. Rise of Chaos. Very much enjoy Rise of Chaos. Die by the Sword. What a great opener.
Yeah.
You know, if you live by the sword, do you know what you'll do, kids? Die by the sword.
Gotta die by it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm supposed to do everything in a country style now, aren't I? Oh,
Yes, come on now.
Oh, sorry. Kool-Aid. I mean, there aren't enough songs about mass suicide, are there?
Yeah,
You know?
but Simon, I mean,
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
yeah,
There you go. And they do
it's a great song.
really is. They do this thing about where they clearly like myself and probably like you, they can't get their shit together with modern life, and they do that on a few songs, notably on Analog Man and something else I'm going to get to shortly. But it's a really, really good record. It's brilliant sounding record. I would, if Andy Sneap would how can I put this? Record somebody eating a banana, it would sound great. Yeah, I've got my fruit bowl next to me. It was all I could come up with at the time. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It would be a great sounding banana. It would probably do a brilliant, twin track solo or something.
Those
That
buzzsaw peels coming down off the side of the piano, man. That would sound pretty
banana.
good.
All right, yeah, potassium. Yeah. I really, I like his work with Art General. I like his work with sax, and I just like all his. Oh, the Priest, of course. I like all this, and I really like the most recent one, Too Mean to Die. Yay. It's just really great from start to finish. Zombie Apocalypse, Too Mean to Die, Overnight Sensation. See, I can do everything in that style. Yeah. No One's Master.
Overnight Sensation is like heavy metal in a Skinner.
Yeah. No, it was when I just did it then. No One's Master. The Undertaker's Awesome Symphony of Pain. Not my problem. New Accept is really, really good. And if you're one of those people that stick with Udo Accept, open your mind and listen to the newer shit. It's all really good. Blind Rage has got Stalingrad's brilliant. Oh, just I like all New Accept. These are two.
Have you had a chance to see him live with the current lineup?
Yes.
Yeah, they're really good live, right? Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, and to echo what you just said, I think if you're one of those people, because I hear it all the time, no Udo, no Accept. There's room in the world for both people. I mean, I would say Udo's more recent albums are great too. I actually think Udo's last album is a little bit better than Accept's last album, but they're both great. They've been apart for so long at this point. I don't see why you can't appreciate both of them. That's.
I'll tell you something else I like, and I know Steven doesn't like it because he mentioned it with Jen. I quite like 60/70-year-old guys slagging each other off. I find it highly entertaining. I really do. I want to get to that age and be saying, do you know what, Pete Pardo, I'm not going on Sea of Tranquility anymore. We're not doing that shit. No, you can get lost. No, I'm staying with the SIMON channel. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Just really. Oh, mate, I mean, it's obviously because they get asked about it all the time, but it does amuse me.
So are we going to have to get somebody in 20 years' time that kind of looks like you and kind of sounds like you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm planning to be dead in 20 years' time, so yeah, probably going to have
things
to
do.
Yeah.
Okay. Wildcard.
So hold on, Steve, before we go. So Simon, your wild card is all the new albums.
Particularly these two, but they're all really good.
Okay.
They're all excellent records.
Okay, cool. I can live with that.
Okay, so I will say nothing other than just go the classic wild card in this catalogue for the reasons that the wild card that I like to choose is that album that makes you go. Okay, so that is not my wild card. Right, for anyone that doesn't watch us regularly and is only tuning in because we're talking about Accept, they made an AOR album. Anyway, so moving on from that, okay. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
two hints,
Simon
people.
has.
2 hints, people. Did you catch them? If not, there's no hope for you. Anyway, sorry, Steve.
Simon has already, as I anticipated, stolen my thunder, okay, because the wild card for me in his catalogue is what the band are doing now. Okay, I have seen them in recent times when they co-headlined, opened for Sabaton, okay, because they did not.
They were in a Twilight Force sandwich.
Yes, absolutely they were. And who could be in a better place than living by the sword and dying by Twilight Force's sword and some bizarre tank thing? Not a patch on Kiss's one. But anyway, let's not go there. Okay. But what the band that have been doing, and they are great live right now, Mark Tornillo is really, really good. He is maybe a slightly purer singer than Udo, but he brings the bark, he brings the authority, he can handle the old stuff really, really well. There is an element of, who's an Accept this week? Because that has kind of been what it's done in the last, especially kind of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
There is, you kind of turn around and you go, who's that guitarist? Different bassist now.
Why are there 6 of them now?
Yes, that would appear to be the way that we've gone. I don't really know why. And when I saw them co-headline, I mean, they had so little stage. They were basically standing on the monitors because there was nowhere else to go because Sabaton's stage set was ginormous. But they were brilliant. They were really, really good. And they played a selection of newer stuff. Now, without, because we never do, we never discuss anything going in. Could I highlight the 5 albums? Yes, absolutely I could. I could highlight the 5 albums that the band have done since they got back together. The 2 I've picked out are Blind Rage, and I've picked out Blood of Nations. So genuinely, I've not tried to avoid what Simon has gone for. I have them all sitting here, but these are the 2 that I've highlighted because I think that these 2 just don't put a foot wrong. There's not a weak moment on either of these albums. Yes, if I was to be honest, there's an element of playing to type. Do you know, this is Accept, writing Accept songs for Accept fans. And I kind of get that. They really don't try and push the envelope. Udo, to his credit, whilst he still does something that is pretty damn similar, let's be honest, does add a little bit of variance in along the way and has kind of played about with it a little bit. I think maybe not having a band name kind of lends itself to that as well, to be fair. Do you know? Although Udo is a bona fide band in its own right, he goes to great pains to say that there is Dirk Schneider and there's various things, but when it's UDO, not Udo, UDO, it is a band. But yeah, why can't we have both? Both do great things. Both are really exciting. Both are still releasing great albums. So if you haven't heard stuff like this and you like Accept, what are you doing? What are you thinking? I don't understand it. And if you have tried, you don't like it, fair enough. I can't argue with that. We can't all like everything. But those 5 albums since Mark Tornillo's been in the band are absolutely top-notch stuff. I really like them, and they have to be the wild card because most people, a lot of people, don't give them really much credit whatsoever, and that's a real shame because there's great music on those albums.
Cool. And I have to say, because it's actually pretty funny, when I interviewed Udo last year, we started talking. Of course, we were there to talk about his new album, and I didn't say the title yet in the interview or the band name. And he's like, "So we are talking about the new UDO album," and I was like, "Oh." I had been saying, calling the band Udo for years. And I was like, "Oh, thank God I didn't look stupid just then." I keep my nose like, "Oh, yes, that's right. The new UDO album is blah, blah, blah." Like, anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page with both of you guys. So I think for me, my wild card had to be one of them, one of the most recent albums. And Blood of the Nations and Stalingrad, for me, I still consider to be my favorites of the 5 that they've done. And quite frankly, I rank those right after, like if we were to do, my ranking of the catalog right now, like obviously I told you my first 2, Metal Heart would probably be number 3, Breaker probably number 4, Blood of the Nations probably number 5, and then Stalingrad would be right after that, pretty much. And then there's the other 3. And I think that the one for me that would sit right in the middle of the pack in the whole discography, and it's a really strong album, is Blind Rage. So we were all pretty much, on the right, on the same path here. And I mean, to me, the first half of the CD is absolutely killer. It loses a little steam for me on the back end, but man, Stampede, Dying Breed, Dark Side of My Heart, and Fall of the Empire, boom, 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 right off the bat, just absolutely kills it. And I've talked to a lot of people about Andy Sneap's production specifically. I mean, not just with these guys, with Priest and with Saxon as well. He's got it when he produces an album from a metal band, it's him producing. There's like a similar sound and feel to an Andy Sneap production, which for some people can give this kind of like aura of sameness to a catalog. So for me, like the 5 albums, did he do all 5? I think he did all 5. The albums that or maybe not the first one, I don't remember. He's done most of them anyway. They all have a very similar sound, and you could almost kind of interchange all the songs, and and it wouldn't disrupt any of the albums. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because to me, this is the best sounding Accept has been in a long, long time. And I'm okay with this big wall of sound, crunchorama. I don't have an issue with this. I think Mark Tornillo is the right guy for the job, and he has been from day one. When you go see him live, they play some new stuff. They play a lot of the classics. He covers it all perfectly. Does it suck they've had a revolving door of members over the last bunch of years? Yeah, because, and again, you hear it all the time. It's like an Accept cover band now, right? Because it's just basically Wolf and whoever he wants in the band. I get it, but they're still really good, and it still sounds like Accept to me. So yeah, my wild card is going to be Blind Rage, which again, when you look at the 5 that have come out since Mark joined the band, it's one of the better ones for sure. They're all really good. It's a great, and you can't go wrong with any of them. But that's my wild card for today.
Yeah, and I was just looking at, yes, Andy Sneap does produce Blood of the Nations as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, I kind of thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all, if you went in blindfolded, right, and you never listened to any of those albums, and you played like a selection of songs from all the albums, you could swear they were all from the same sessions, right? Because they're cut from the same cloth, and there's something to be said about that kind of consistency, right? But to some people, it's kind of more of the same over and over and over again. I get it, but it's pleasing to my ears. That's all that matters, right? So,
I think that what Andy Sneap does with Accept, but he does in general with these, as Simon mentioned, heritage acts, is he knows what makes them good.
Yeah, well, he knows. He was a fan of all of them, right? So yeah.
You see, you seem to be able to pull that out of the bands. He seems to be able to give you that classic sound without making it sound like it was recorded in 1976.
Yeah.
Whilst at the same time, because the Priest albums are supposed to be the same that he's been involved with, they don't really break a mold in any particular way. They kind of tried that prior, and we don't think it went so well to some extent on some of them, not all of them, definitely not all of them. But Andy Sneap seems to be able to go, no, this is what people expect and want, and if we do that really well, people will like your album. And I think he gets that right.
Yeah, I mean, you're a metal band, give your fans a metal album, right? That they don't sound like anything else, right? They sound like these are all metal albums. Every one. I mean, the Saxon albums are exactly the same. I mean, to me, the albums he's worked on with Saxon are some of the most powerful Saxon albums they've ever done from a sonic perspective, right? Because I think that's what was lacking from the early Saxon albums. As great as they are, and the songs are undeniable classics, but you can't. To me, those productions are not, those albums are never sonically heavy and crunchy enough for metal albums. Like when I listen to a modern day Saxon album and I listen to Denim and Leather, Wheels of Steel, and Strong Arm of the Law, those are great albums. The songs are great. I always wanted a little bit more on the production side of it for me. And you get that on the new Saxon albums. Same thing with Accept, same thing with Priest, right? It's
I would say I mean, we're veering off here, kind of Dogs of War onwards, Saxon become the heavy metal band we've always called them.
yeah.
Until then,
Yeah.
they were a really hard rock band with some other flavors thrown in along the way, obviously. But yeah, I would completely agree. Whereas Accept were not always, but from a certain period onwards, they were a metal band. And I mean, maybe one thing I've not touched on here that I feel quite strongly about is that they are a major and kind of unsung hero of the European power metal scene. Accept don't sound like what has come, but I do think that without those, especially the mid-period albums, I don't think you have a lot of the bands that we now look at and go, aren't they great? Because that kind of bombast, that kind of power mixed with the aggression, a bit of attitude, but it's a bit more symphonified. That was something that nobody else was really doing in that way. And yes, it has evolved massively since then, and bands are doing their own thing with it. But take Accept out of the equation, I don't think we have that at all, really, because nobody else really pioneered that in quite the blatant way that Accept did.
Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, and again, going back, I was listening to Accept from the early 80s. We like to put bands in buckets, right? Accept never really fit in any bucket, right? You had some stuff early on that was kind of speed metally thrash, but not quite. They were sort of power metal, but not, because they were early. They weren't really extreme metal, although, when you first heard Restless and Wild, you're like, whoa, check that out. They weren't hair metal. They're just Accept, right? It's like they're kind of like, I always thought Metal Church was kind of like the US version of Accept. They're just a metal band that kind of dips their toe into a lot of things, but aren't any of them, right? It's kind of weird.
That may have been what held them back.
And you might be right.
Lack of easy categorization.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I think that's very true. There were, especially around the kind of metal heart era, there is a kind of commercialism to some of that should have made it accessible and almost kind of into a hit. But they're too metal, they're too aggressive, but they're not aggressive enough. For certain audiences, I love these albums and I love this band. But yeah, I can understand why they never went over the top with any of those audiences that they could have possibly pulled in all of them.
Yeah.
But never seemed to quite manage to do that.
Yeah.
Internal politics didn't help either, let's be honest, but that's another story.
Yeah, true. No, that's true. That's true. But a good catalog. I mean, lots to love in the catalog. They have their mediocre albums like a lot of bands do who have, close to 20 albums or whatnot. But, I'd say for me, other than the first two albums, the whole early part of the catalog and the latter part of the catalog is really, really good. And, Russian Roulette has its moments, right? I mean, that's not a terrible album, I don't think. And there are some good songs throughout those 90s albums, but I think that was, the band were in transition and turmoil, and it showed, right? It showed. I mean, generally speaking, when you've got that kind of stuff going on behind the scenes with a band, between the record labels and the lineup and the members, it's like, and the producers, it's never a good thing. Never a good thing.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Steven, you want to give everybody a little hint of what's coming next?
We have a classic album. Ranking the songs on the classic album is what we're doing next. And this was a suggestion from Simon. When we finished recording the last show, Simon actually did a bit of ooh, 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 as the next suggestion for what we would do for a classic album. And we are going for Eliminator by ZZ Top, as Simon would say, by ZZ Top, for those out there who are not quite au fait with the nonsense that we talk. And I can't tell you how excited I was by that choice. I think it's a fantastic choice of an album to do. I've been listening to it already just because I can, not because I need to. So really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's good for me because I love ZZ Top for one, and that's an album that for us here in the States, many of us who are ZZ Top fans have probably heard that album a million times and probably haven't listened to it in a million years. So now to go and revisit it because I already when we talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago after we got done recording, I was kind of like thinking in my head, well, this is how I would kind of rank these songs, but I'm like, but that's probably how I would have ranked them 20 or 25 years ago or more.
Yep.
It'll be interesting over the next like week or two to kind of go through and actually put it down and say, okay, this has got to go here, because it is a really, really good classic ZZ Top album. It's a little different than the stuff that came earlier, but there's a reason why it sold a gazillion copies, right? So so that'll be a fun episode, I think.
Yeah. It's a really
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
Yeah. Great selection. Really,
You're beautiful. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. You're beautiful.
So there you have it, everybody. So, of course, as we always do here on Sea of Tranquility, it's time for you guys to play along. So in the comments below, let us hear your 2 favorite Accept albums, your 2 least favorite, and your wild card. Try and play along better than these 2 guys did, because we got 1 least favorite, multiple wild cards, you know.
2?
I'm just joking. Anyway, so thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Look at that. That's the first time I finished my full beer in a couple of weeks on a couple episodes. So look at that. Oh, wow. I beat Simon this week. Look at that. Holy cow. Now, Steven, I never.
I'm savoring it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay tuned for ranking the albums coming up tomorrow. Till next time, 2 weeks from today, for Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Join us for ZZ Top Eliminator. And till then, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.